How's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Wednesday night, March 5th, 2025. It's 8:49 p.m. California time here. Latest activity on the earthquake 3D globe shows a 3.3 earthquake somewhere out here in a green flag. There we go. Across the Indonesia Islands area there. That's at 3.3. Starting off here in Washington first. A little bit more earthquake activity, shaking things up outside of Seattle. Just the latest here in a series of earthquakes out here across this area of the Puget Sound. 3.9 striking to the west here, well, northwest of Seattle, 26 miles deep. More than likely, that is associated with the Cascadia subduction zone at that depth there. That's definitely a deeper quake. Cascadia, of course, sits just offshore. Extends from the Queen Charlotte Sound all the way down to Northern California here, where things have been quite active recently. But the Seattle area has been under quite a bit of strain as well. This deeper quake, though, leading me to believe that a lot of this uptick here is related to strain out here across the Cascadia subduction zone. So if we pull up the last 7 days, just the last 7 days of activity, man, they're pretty well focused up here in terms of the visual earthquake sequences that are taking place. It's not just one area. It's not just two areas. It's a lot of areas out here across this region that have been they've been having a lot of earthquake activity. More so than in recent past, that's for sure. There's a 3.9 today over around the Olympic National Park. That earthquake today sits south, well south of the earthquakes there that struck the area just a couple days ago with that 4.5 earthquake. That was a felt earthquake out there, obviously across Seattle area. Since then, a number of earthquakes there, about 52 of them it looks like, for a total tally. A lot of small aftershock sequences there. And that's just, again, that's just one area. There's a recent earthquake. Past couple other events here on the Seattle fault, western side here, and the eastern side, all seen a period of earthquake activity. And some of those were up in the 2 to 3 range. It looks like the largest there, 3.3, across this area of the eastern side of the Seattle fault. Again, just a notable increase in earthquake activity out here. When that happens, you got to watch these fault systems. The Seattle fault is it's a big one. That can see some big earthquakes up here as well. The Devil's Mountain fault, many different fault systems out here. So when things are on the elevated side of things, we need to be on watch. That's for sure. A couple smaller earthquakes out there around the Cascades. Nothing big. Some movement out here across the Blanco. Well, that's going to be the is it the Blanco fracture zone? I believe it is here. We're just off of it. It's going to be right about here. Here's the Gorda Ridges, Blanco strike slip boundary right here. A little bit of earthquake activity off the coast of Oregon on this region here. I'm not for sure why they're not including the names out here. That should be listed out here on the map, unless, let me see here. Well, I'm not seeing any option there to add something else, as far as the names out here. That's the only thing missing. I guess when we click on it, we can see it. Cascadia subduction zone. But not so much on this one. But this is a Blanco fracture zone strike slip boundary. And then it goes into a spreading seafloor center. You can see it quite nicely there on the map. But a little bit of earthquake activity there today. Some Northern California as well. Looks like 3 of them. I think there was more than that. Let me check out the Cascadia tremor activity real quick. See what we have here across the area of the Pacific Northwest. 14 epicenters. Not a big deal. Just a little bit there underneath Oregon. Really surprised that there's been nothing up here across this area. Recently, anyway, due to all the elevated earthquake activity, it does look like things are quite strained out there across the Cascadia. But whether that's enough there to produce a big earthquake out there, full rupture, who knows? Last one was 325 years ago. Across the rest of California there, pretty quiet across San Francisco. Hard to believe that there's not even one quake being reported out there today. It's a little odd. Southern California looks a little spotty as well. Outside of Bakersfield, got that 3.3 near Buttonwillow. It's on the extreme southwestern edge here of the valley. But since then, looks a little quiet out here. A couple smaller microquakes. No major swarming, no unusual activity to note there across Southern California. And for the most part, all these are just small microquakes out there. Nothing on the Puente Hills Thrust Fault for now. Across the area of Yellowstone, pretty quiet up there. But as always, I do want to double check. I believe, well, they are their map up here is correct now as far as the time frame goes. I'm a little tired. I'm drained. I was out doing some storm chasing, local storm chasing here with Missy Mimi's, my co-partner here in life and the channel. Quite a few big thunderstorms out here in Northern California today. Got pounded on with hail, a lot of lightning all over us, all above us, that is. But we survived the day. Pretty neat to see, though. Earthquake activity, really not a whole lot happening out there. Double check these timestamps here. This would be 9. Well, this is Mountain Time, so about almost 10 o'clock there for the Mountain Time. Nothing going on though, as far as earthquake activity. This is what looks like some type of outside interference or wind. Looks like maybe there's some wind events earlier, but not a whole lot of earthquake activity happening up there. And that's at Yellowstone National Park, Super Volcano, Texas oil fields. And, they're still getting hit. Not as hard today as the past couple weeks. New Madrid seismic zone here, pretty quiet. One earthquake outside of that region near Knoxville, Tennessee, just outside of Knoxville, a 1.8. New Zealand has been popping down here with a lot of earthquake activity. USGS showing 3 of those earthquakes this morning that struck within about an hour's time frame of each other. But if you look here on the GeoNet servers, this is the recorded view around South Island, just around the, I believe it's just off the Alpine Fault there, maybe 1 or 2 on the Alpine Fault. Man, a bunch of earthquake activity all at once. Expecting something bigger happening there. It didn't happen, but it looks like it was just about ready to. A number of earthquakes out there in the 4. Some of those may have been up in the 5 range across the New Zealand area. Check out the earthquakes here real quick. 2.9, 2.9, 2.9. Let's see here. There's a 3.4. Looks like that's around the Alpine Fault. There's that 4.7 on the Alpine, 4.6 on the Alpine, 5.1 towards the, looks like west of the Culverden area, outside of Christchurch. 4.7 previous to that. Just a lot of movement happening out here when things are active like that across that major plate boundary. And the Alpine Fault area definitely capable of producing some large earthquakes. I don't recall the last time we had one out there, but it can produce some big earthquakes. So let's take a look here at history real quick, see what we got. We're going to go check out the history catalog book. I just want to take a look here and see when at least the last decent sized earthquake of 5.5 was out there across that area of New Zealand. We'll go way back in time. And the USGS for the most part covers, the main events that take place across the globe, including New Zealand. So let's go over here and check this out real quick. Just strictly around this area right here where today's activity is occurring. That would probably cover it right there. I'm drained, man. I'm drained. A lot of driving and a lot of crazy weather. So 5.5, that is well inland though, off the plate boundary. Looks like a 5.6 2020. I'm looking for ones around the Alpine Fault there. 6.1, I guess that's around there. Back in 2007, also 6. Oh, that's 6.8. And then a 6.1 on the same day. That's 2007. 6.7 inland. But there's obviously other areas out here across the plate boundary that have not seen any sufficient release of pressure, and it's capable of producing some big quakes out there. So we just got to watch it. I mean, when things are lighting up like that, with that many earthquakes, just got to be prepared, I suppose. Looks like things have dropped off from that magnitude level, the 4s and the 5s. We're only seeing, some 2s out there, 2.9 around that same area within the last 8 hours. And then also another 2.9, same area 33 minutes ago. So, things haven't completely died off there. So we could be seeing some earthquake activity above what we're seeing with that type of event. Those could very well be foreshocks out there. So just be on guard across New Zealand. The rest of the globe here, let's go ahead and check this out. There's all the activity obvious there on the globe. Deeper activity up north around the Tonga Trench, 4.6 there. And the typical clustering going on across the Indonesia Islands area. Well, here we go with the deep activity and the surface adjustment again across the Nankai Trough. 4.2 way deep underneath this area. And then sometime later, some shallow adjustment right there across that section. I believe it's section E. That has not had any rupture activity in quite a while. And that's the Nankai Trough. That's a region that the Japanese government here put out a mega quake warning for last year because of all the increasing movements around it and the time frame, time intervals that tells us when big earthquakes are coming up to be due, so to speak. And that is very soon for the Nankai Trough. That can produce a big earthquake up in the upper 8 range, maybe even a 9. So that's pretty active out here. Just a lot of deep activity in this region, and also way over here around the Sea of Osk area. That's associated with the Kurokam-Chatka subduction zone here. That's another area that's, I believe, firmly primed for some big earthquake activity. So, no big earthquake activity yet. I mean, so far the largest one this year, 7.6. So far today, today's winding down, but it still could happen. It's 9 o'clock here, California time, so we still have a couple hours here. 5.5 out in the San Mateo del Mar, Mexico area. Way down south here into the Middle America Trench, about 29 miles deep here into this area. That's one thing that's missing, though, off of this map. I don't know if the USGS knows that or not, but they're missing the names here of the subduction zones and whatnot. I don't see it anymore like they used to have. So maybe they're still working on it, or maybe they just forgot. Either way, let's see what else we have here. Bunch of movement offshore here. Well, that makes sense. These are fracture boundary earthquakes out here. And for the most part, when earthquakes take place out here, that amplifies the condition of the Middle American Trench. And that is pretty obvious here following those 2 earthquakes today. The latest one being where the strain, well, that's the largest magnitude. I'll take that back, excuse me. So it looks like vice versa. But, we had the largest earthquake activity there, 1 o'clock this morning, and then escalation out here. But I wouldn't doubt if we'll see elevated activity out here overnight. Because, again, most of the time when earthquake activity strikes out here, that does apply pressure out here in the subduction zone of the Middle America Trench. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. Nothing showing up there for now. As far as the Santorini volcano, looks like a number of earthquakes, including one super deep one there. So let's take a quick look over at the Raspberry Shake data system there around the Santorini, Greece area. where the numbers are staying pretty consistent here each day. This is the last week, 485 earthquakes around the Santorini area, with the most recent one being a 2-pointer. There's a 3.2 out there in the mix of earthquake activity today. So let's go check out the viewer here real quick. Make sure I got the most recent data here from the University of Athens. Got the geophysics site. Zoom in here across the Santorini area. And if there was a 3-pointer, we should see it. Maybe one of these here recently. That is today's date. Earthquake activity obviously still happening, as you can see. It has not died off yet. There's been no complete die down. This is still one of the longest earthquake swarms I've ever seen without any main quake or any main eruption. I'm sure we're well up above 15,000, 16,000 earthquakes here since it all began here a few weeks ago. But nothing happening yet. Things take time, so don't discredit. Don't take that little quiet period here as a, everything's back to normal, because it could definitely change here. Things can escalate quite rapidly. All right, let's see what else we have here. The pause. There was a little pause out in the Kilauea volcano eruption there, as expected. We'll see that return back here in a few days. Out in the Indian Ocean, the zipper boundary. It's actually a spreading seafloor center and slowly creating new seafloor. That's why we see the that zipper pattern, so to speak, out there across the oceanic crust. Pretty neat. That's a new seafloor being created over time. Some movement up in India. Nothing big. We'll just continue to keep an eye on things here, folks. Seismograph stations there. Looks like my plate boundary stations are going to be going offline, but we'll check back on them. Sometimes they do that. A couple earthquakes there in China Lake. Space weather. Anything major going on out in space? Well, that's the eclipse of the sun with the spacecraft. What is it? GOES 16. I believe that would be the Earth getting in the way, which would block out the sun from that spaceship that's monitoring the SDO images. Coronal hole facing us, nothing big, no major roars there in the forecast. As far as the solar flare threat goes, let's dig in a little deeper and check out the latest on the magnetogram image here. We'll get that to key up. Been taking a little minute here for this to load. There we go. And it's not the Solar Ham site. It's the Space Weather Prediction Center, NASA.gov site. That's a little slow. SDO, NASA, I meant. Yeah, this one's pretty much done for. Not a whole lot of complexity within this sunspot core anymore. It's splitting. It looks like it's fading off. We do have a new area down here, though, that kind of popped up out of the blue. So we'll watch that. That's actually got quite a bit of intermixing of the colors, the polarities there of the magnetic structure. So we'll keep an eye on that new one right there. I don't know if it's got a name. Yeah, it does. 4016. The rest of the sunspots, though, look fairly calm. Not really expecting much, folks, in the way of flaring. Not for sure why this was bumped up to 10%, but that's not my forecast. I'm calling for 1% or less. Really no X-flare potential that I can see. Although 45% chance for an M flare is reasonable, just with that newer sunspot popping up. All right, Storm Prediction Center here. Got some continual thunderstorm activity out there in Northern California, a little bit out in the east as well. Let's see what we got for any storm reports. Any tornado activity out there today? Looks like one confirmed report of a tornado out in Union County, North Carolina. Storm survey team determined EF1 damage with estimated 90-mile-per-hour peak winds. The tornado lasted about 3 minutes and was 2.24 miles long and 75 yards wide. Out there across North Carolina, just one report. that severe weather kicking offshore there. Not really expecting much except for some cold air behind that. And as we put this into motion, well, there's a number of systems aimed at Southern California, Northern California. Wow, look at that. That's a dandy of a West Coast precipitation maker there, aimed right at my neck of the woods. That's going to be a big one, it looks like. Maybe severe weather potential here from that low pressure as it drifts further to the east there across Texas and the Arkansas area. That could be a severe weather day. After that, put the model into motion here, see what we got. Just got to, ooh, what is that? Maybe severe weather as well. That's a classic setup as we head into Wednesday and Thursday time frame, March 19th, March 20th there. It's just getting pretty active out here on the weather map here, and it will ramp up as we head into spring. So just be on guard here, folks. The total accumulated precipitation runs here. Well, California got a good soaking going on, and that is okay by me. I'm definitely liking the rain. Looks like we're going to get quite a bit. All right, let's see. Nothing major going on there. Hope everyone has a good night. Stay safe out there. Make sure you guys have an earthquake plan, and just be on guard. Pacific Northwest, got to watch that because there's a lot going on out there recently for earthquake activity. More notable than recent times here. Definitely got something brewing out here, I think. So just stay on guard. We'll see you guys out here tomorrow morning for the Thursday morning update. Take care, folks. Have a good night.